Right, well hey guys, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this morning we did our first GA low and slow flight, and I thought this evening we'll do the same, but in a different part of the world. But before we get started, just a quick reminder of our graphic settings on the simulator, for those of you who are asking and potentially didn't watch the first stream. We are running everything on high, apart from two options, which is the ambience, cohesion and reflections, as I have noted those two are very heavy on the FPS, and so I've turned those to medium. Everything else, however, is set to their high setting. Terrain level detail ups from 100 to 125, and potentially I'm going to up them up to 150, as I do know I can do that without any problem whatsoever. And for my system, which is a GTX 1660 on an i7 6700 processor and 16 gigs of RAM, you can run stuff on high without too much of a problem at all. Also again, running now on Bandicam instead of OBS, because OBS is a pain to run, especially on memory, and so Bandicam will hopefully streamline the process a little bit more. Anyways, on to our flight today. So I thought it'd be quite nice to do a bit of Greek island hopping today, and a flight that I actually did in the real world back in May of last year. So I fly to the island of Lemnos from Athens, and well, the scenery in real life is fantastic, and I've done it in the sim as well. It is phenomenal, especially as you head through all the islands as well. You'll see. So first things first, let's get this aircraft and flight plan sorted. So start on ramp 23 in Athens. We'll fly over to Lemnos as our arrival. And thing to point out as well, for those of you who play a certain military simulator on Steam, you may recognise the shape of this island. So Lemnos and Eleftherios form the islands of Altis and Stratus in Arma 3. Fun facts for you guys there. Also, one of the main reasons why I actually flew to that island, because I just love Arma 3, and so I want to spend some time in the real place. Anyhow, that's for another time. So set our departure. We're also going to set a SID as well. So our first waypoint is Kilo Romeo Oscar, and I want to depart on runway 21 right. So we're going to go for a corresponding departure, which should be, there you go, the Kilo Romeo Oscar 1 Golf. And what that does is it sets now the SID on the flight plan as well. So SID's marked in the yellow, flight plan's in green, and then the approach we'll sort out once we're actually in the air. Also, I won't be flying the Cap 10, but instead we'll be flying the King Air 350. In terms of ATC options today, we're going to do it in Olympic Airlines. So, in reality, this route is flown in the ATR 42 or the Q400s, but since the simulator doesn't have either of those, we're going to go for the closest thing possible. Tail number is Sierra X-Ray, Oscar Alpha X-Ray. Our call sign today is Olympic, and our flight number is 266. Not heavy, we'll show tail number. Weight and balance will probably actually do here now, because well, we're not going to go out to the fuel truck or anything. We're just going to jump in, go through the checklist as well, because again, one of the things that I've noted you guys wanted to see more of was the checklist options that the simulator has available, so we'll definitely have a look at that. Fuel wise, ooh, here you go, one way you can show it as well. So if I zoom out, you can see this circle here. If I select a different aeroplane, you will note that well, the circle will change, because that is the range of the aircraft. It will show you in the map. So if I go for the 747-8, which has the longest range, you can see it definitely stretches out a bit further. And if I was to go for minimum weight with maximum fuel, it can pretty much do halfway around the world no problem whatsoever. But like I said, we're going to do the King Air today. The 747 I've got planned for another time, to say the least. Right, so that's all set. Still only one livery, which is going to be default house colours. That's all fine. We'll lower the fuel amounts. We don't need this much at all. That looks good to me. Set the flight conditions. So we'll have live traffic on live weather. Yeah, live weather. But time, we're going to do it at 18:30. Date will be May the 10th. that will do. Let's click on fly now, and let's start preparing this aircraft ready for flight. And so, like I say, fingers crossed, things should be running as always. Whenever you get a new simulator or new product, you kind of want to get something on there first before you actually have a chance to properly mess around and tinker a bit to kind of streamline the settings. So, as I say, this point on, should be looking a lot better. And regarding my A320 landings, also something that I will be practicing as well in my own time to try and get that a bit better as well. The simulator flight dynamics aren't quite there yet, but they are definitely being worked on. The last couple of versions have certainly seen massive improvements of how all the aircraft fly, and so as you get used to a different platform, you do start to get used to the flight dynamics and features as well. I remember I was using FSX for so many years before I joined X-Plane. Getting used to blade element theory first was a massive jump up, because you instead went from flying on rails to simulated airflow, and so now you got that in between where it is actually a similar method to what they use in DCS World, which is you have the data tables in, but then they've been tinkered to a point where you actually have some airflow simulation. It's a nice way of doing it. Right, here's our aircraft. We shall start preparation very shortly for our flights. Right then, first things first, let's prepare the aircraft, and like I say, we'll be using the checklist to go through it. So, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with an aircraft type or new to flight simulating completely, then what this is an interactive checklist for you to follow. So we'll go through it step by step, and I'll give you an idea of how it works. So first things first, make sure that parking brake is set, which it is. So we'll tick the item and move on to the next step, which is the power levers set to idle, which they are. Tick the item, switch over to the RPM levers, set both of those to max. So you do need to push them both forward, which is fine. Next is the condition levers, make sure that they are both set to cut off. And finally, we come to the battery, so that comes on. Finally, King Air 350, so we have got a G1000 cockpit set up, and because we set the flight plan in the menu, the flight plan has automatically been put in place for us, which is, again, no biggie. Sometimes it is nice to have that preset, but if we wanted to, we could then go through the full menu and program the flight from start to finish. Back to the checklist, let's carry on, shall we? So we've finished now with the before engine start list, so now it's marked page complete. We'll go to the next one, which is for engine starter. Before we even do any of that, actually there's a few things I want to do myself as well. So first of all, let's start with the anti-ice. Make sure that the engines are active. Make sure that the windshields are normal, which they are. Prop anti-ice to automatic. Pitot heats on. The brake de-ice, I believe, is in op, which it is. Set the surface de-ice to single, just flick that. Rest of those are in op, which is fine. Cool, that should do me for now. I'll clear the master caution. Make sure that everything else is set as I need as well. Got the fuel amounts to our left hand side. So you can see main tank only, which is the yellow section on the left there. We don't need too much fuel, as we pointed out in the loading for this flight. It's not a very long one by any stretch of the imagination. There's an aircraft is there in front of us. Not quite sure what type that is. No, I'm not going to make an attempt at what that is. One of you guys probably know. Right, back to checklist. Let's go for engine starter. Before we do, however, some of the navigation and both the beacon and strobes, just to announce to everyone around us that we are getting ready to turn our engines on. Head over to that. Start with the right engine ignition and engine start. So pop down to the left there. Watch the N1 to hit 12%, then watch the N1 to hit 12% and then low idle. Make sure I read that properly. There we go. Now we monitor the N1, make sure that the engine's starting up. We could even just look out the right hand window there. that's done, we'll now go to the right oil pressure. Make sure that's active, which it is. Right engine ignition starter off. Right generator on. And then for the left engine, repeats. So ignition to on. Watch the N1. Sets the mixture to low idle. Keep on watching that until the engine comes to life. Engine starter off, generator on. Right. Now go to the after engine start, which requires us to turn the avionics switch to on, set the lights as required, which we've already done, and the parking brake, release when ready. Right, now that we've got that over and done with, let's now start preparing the aircraft for push and... well, we've already started, so it's just now for pushback. As you can see there, we have got the little motorised tug as opposed to the large jetline pushback tugs we're usually used to. And so we'll be using that guy there to perform our pushback for today. But before we depart, a chance to look around the scenery here at Athens. The sun is going to set, so we're going to have some very beautiful scenery to our left and right hand sides. We fly over different islands. We've got the mountains around Marathon, just to the north over there, and also vehicles to our south as well. Athens Airport, certainly not the worst of the default generated airport sets. I mean, it looks like this in the real world. It certainly gives us something to follow. Right, let's jump back to our aircraft and let's prepare ourselves for pushback. So we'll tune to ground again. We'll call the pushback vehicle.
Ground Olympic 266 requesting pushback. Olympic 266 pushback request accepted.
We'll let him reverse now into position. And hopefully, if all goes to plan, we'll be able to hop on the next part of our flights. There we go. Parking brakes released. We'll immediately ask him to steer to the right, just that we're in line with the taxiway.
266 requesting pushback to steer the aircraft to the right. Olympic 266, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
All looking good. In just a moment, we'll be able to tell him now to stop the pushback.
Ground Olympic 266 requesting the end of pushback.
Yeah, you've really got to time that pushback option. One of those things that definitely a bit of tinkering for the simulator releases. Right, flaps down to first notch. We shall set the engine mixture now to maximum. And hopefully, if all goes to plan, we should now be ready to make our way to the runway. In that sense, that's fine. Let's us turn our taxi lights on. And let's now make our way to 21 right. It's going to be a very beautiful flight, this. I can tell you now, the sunset over the Greek islands and the Aegean Sea, it is going to be something to remember. I remember doing it in the ATR 42. It was a turbulent flight, to be brutally honest. It wasn't the smoothest of trips, but the memories from it are certainly something that will stick with me. We'll set quickly the altitude to 10,000 feet before I forget. will do. And the rest will deal with once we're in the air. Flight director on. Yes. And let's use the centre panel there to act as a taxiway map as well. Now, fascinating thing about Athens, I'm not going to attempt the name, but the fascinating part about Athens is that in order to access the northerly runway, you are required to cross the motorway and train line down below. So there is a bridge. Now we cross that in just a moment. Yeah, default airport environments do look rather good. Perhaps terminal may not be the most accurate, and so something for the third-party companies to certainly start to move with. But in terms of actually having the ground vehicles around, the people walking and all the stuff in the job, it's just... the airport environments themselves are fantastic. And it really is a step in the right direction. I've also got the U-turn system right there, so essentially the cars that are on the motorway that needs to turn out to the airports, then there's the road right there. Make sure we're actually on the taxiway centre line, don't start drifting away from that. Let's also move our drone cam into a slightly better position. No need to head to the right hand side. It's going to be a very short takeoff for us in the King Air, so we'll enter the runway directly ahead and we'll make our way straight into the skies. So, once again, I hope you guys are relatively excited for the upcoming flight simulator. I know for a fact I certainly am. And once again, it really is a massive honour to be able to share this stuff with you guys on a computer spec that certainly isn't the highest. I mean, there are a couple of media sources and YouTubes out there who have got the top tier, most modern systems you can possibly think of. I'm certainly not up there. I'm running a more common PC with common parts that most people would have at this point, so okay, my simulator may not be the prettiest, but it's definitely a good benchmark of what you guys could be expecting in the future. Anyhow, landing lights active, taxi lights off. We could potentially won't use ATC today. We'll go on our own. Right, flaps are down. Landing lights are active. Runway is clear. We'll take it. Right, engine up, 50%. Both engines are stable. Let's get going. Now, prop drift is certainly a thing. I am using a bit of rudder to keep the aircraft flying in a straight line. Around 100 will be rotating. Gear up. And there we have it. We are now airborne. like I say, it's definitely pretty this. You can even see a shadow over there, passing the other runway. Certainly pretty this. We'll bring back the throttle a tad, just so we're not going to go too... not going to put too much power in the engines there. We'll also acknowledge the transition change, but we won't tune. I know it's mean, but we won't tune. Make sure the flaps are up. Adjust trim for climb. Make sure the GPS is actually tracking the aeroplane as well, that'd be appreciated. And also zoom out a tad on that. There we go. Right, in a couple of moments I'll switch over now to the autopilot, and then we shall let that take care of the rest of the flight for us. So, if I head over to the vertical speed menu, we will set it to a climb of about 1,000 feet per minute initially. Activate that, and then we'll set the navigation mode to on, and fingers crossed if all goes to plan, the aircraft will now follow the flight's path over to Lemnos. So make a right hand turn just to adjust its position, I presume, onto the flight path, which it is doing now. We'll increase our rate of climb to about... I'll say 2,000 feet per minute. Yeah, there we go. This is a Microsoft Flight Simulator at its best. I'm not sure what I was thinking about when I did the Las Vegas flight yesterday. I should have done something a bit more like this. And again, just looking at the scenery below, the way it all responds to the lighting. It is pretty. It is very pretty. Just note down the radar. There's an aircraft heading towards us. So I can try and spot it. The answer is, ooh yes, yes I can. A commercial of some sorts. So I'm trying to zoom into you with a drone cam. It's a 777. Perhaps coming into land, although a little bit off the runway, perhaps the go around. Just to the right hand side there, you'll be able to spot the original Athens airport. Closed in 2004. It's now slowly being eaten up by developments going around it, and will soon essentially just be another area for housing and apartments. Yeah, this is what I should be showing you guys for the best of Microsoft Flight Simulator. I mean, just look at that. The Greek islands, the Aegean islands, really are something spectacular. Alright, how are we doing? Airspeed's fine, it's nice and stable at 162 knots. Climbing at 2,000 feet per minute, we're cruising at 10,000, don't forget, so it shouldn't take us too long now to reach our cruise. I could go higher if I wanted to, but for the sake of this flight, like I say, we want to see the scenery, we want to see a bit more up close and personal, so we'll leave it at a relatively low cruise for now. In just a moment, we'll be starting a left-hand turn. And that will start taking us away from the airport flight path and towards where we want to go. The King Air 350, one of the few aircraft that actually does have a full passenger cabin and lets you explore it well, all around. So I'll definitely take a closer look at that in detail. And let me tell you, it's a very, very nicely modelled aircraft. The textures are fantastic, the shadows, okay. To be fair, most games, simulators, whatever, shadows have always been a bit of a funky one, especially when trying to do translucent textures through windows. I'm not going to put the shadows against them. I'm sure again on the high spec system as well, you could probably get a little bit smoother lines as well. But for what it is special. This simulator is something special. Right, I've leveled off now at 10,000. I'm actually thinking, perhaps we went to 15,000. We'll do 12. That way, at the very least, I can turn off my landing lights. Also, just lets us get out of the way of everything as well. So, back on the vertical speeds. Set that to a 1,000 feet per minute climb. Monitor the airspeed right now. We don't want going too fast. And there we go. Left-hand turn. And now on our own accords. Autopilot systems in the GA aircraft are certainly a lot more refined than that on the jetliners. I mean, from a developer point of view, they would certainly be a lot easier to get right. And because there's a lot less going into these aircraft systems-wise, you do get a much better experience in them than some of the others. So, okay, the 747, the A320. For default aircraft, they're fantastic, but don't expect the world of them. No matter what simulator has ever released, the default heavy stuff have never been super spectacular. They work, they get you from A to B, but that's what they're there for. They're there for show. The GA stuff, however, really are spectacular. Yeah, just look at that. It really is something special. And mind you, I've done this flight in the real world. I've had the privilege to fly to Greece. I have had the privilege to do these island hopping trips. As I'm saying to someone right now, I probably should use the Bandicam for the beginning. It just gives you so much more versatility. It doesn't wreck your memory. I just wish that Bandysoft actually had a streaming platform as well as their video encoder. Best tool ever for video recording. And so this is certainly more of a representation of what you can expect on a medium spec PC for Microsoft Flight Simulator. High graphic settings, certainly a lot for you to look at and enjoy. This is what I should be showing you guys, and actually doing the platform some justice for its release in just over 2 weeks now. It really isn't that far away. We're at 2,000 now, 12,000 sorry. I will turn off the landing lights as well, just before I forget. Everything else is pretty standard. Not too much in the way of cloud for us to worry about, so I'm not going to have any fuss about icing today. Should just be a straightforward flight. Couple of wind turbines there in the distance. Airspeed is fine. You guys can't see the Xbox overlay, but right now I'm taking a look at the FPS I'm getting. 5150. This is a solid 50 FPS. On YouTube you're going to see 30, I'm afraid. But certainly now that we're away from the big cities, we're flying a small aircraft in, I guess, not as detailed scenery. You can run this sim at 60 FPS, no problem. I mean, I'm running 1080p, medium spec. All my specs is in the description, so feel free to check what I've got in there as well. But 50 frames per second is certainly a good kick out of this platform. When it first got announced, when they first showed off gameplay footage, I thought my computer would never be able to run this. Because, as I said a couple moments ago, I don't have the top-end system spec that a lot of people do have. I'm a lot more of a budget user, and so I'm running medium-high spec stuff wherever possible. But I have been blown away by how well the simulator runs. It just looks and feels phenomenal. Yes, and there's the tail cam flicking out. Right, another left-hand turn, and very shortly we'll be starting our trip to the north. A little bit of wind acting there on the aircraft, a little bit of turbulence. No swaying from left to right. Certainly again one of the things that the Airbus seems to be able to do to us. At some point I will take the 747 out for a flight. We'll definitely start doing some trips in that as well. It's just a case of figuring out where to go on a flight that's not terribly long, but at the same time gives you an idea of the range and the power of the double-decker jets. The Queen of the Skies, the Jumbo. Right, so we're now back on our flight plan. Our next waypoint shall be, I'll drag along to that, Kilo Romeo Oscar, so that was the waypoint we set our SIDS to. That brings us to full loop, then carry on heading north. We have a few iron spots to our left hand side, as well as a few jet traffic as well going past. We'd have Agios Estrasios to our left hand side. Around then, we'll also start our top of descent. Get out to about 2,000 feet before we make our final approach into Lemnos. Straight in flying, we will do it all hands on. No use of autopilot for approach. And so, yeah. a proper bit of low and slow flying, I would admit. And once again, just the scenery here is phenomenal. I mean, just look at that. Just how pretty it is. If we keep an eye out on the left hand side, we chance maybe be able to spot the airport. Should be around there, where the valley flattens out a little bit. Too much bloom, so you won't be able to really see much. But still, you can't complain. Especially when your simulator's looking this pretty, there is no place to complain. I mean, this is all defaults. This is all out of the box. No modifications whatsoever. It's just phenomenal. 5 years ago, we saw a simulator release that used OpenStreetMap data to generate the world, and we were all wowed away by it. Microsoft Flight Simulator takes it 10 steps further. The entire world's satellite images plops down onto a globe with airplanes stuck on top. I mean, Google Earth attempted it with their Google Earth Flight Simulator, who remembers that? If not, let's say we're in Google Earth, Control-Shift-F loads up a flight simulator. Let's fly around the real world, or the virtual world there, in virtual airplanes as well, but this really is just a fantastic step forward, and one that, well, I'm excited for the future. Once the third-party developers start publishing add-ons for the platform, so PMDG for example, I know Coronado will be doing stuff as well. Who else has made their announcements? We know Orbex's doing sceneries. Flight Sim Labs, I believe, are doing a 320 as well for Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's a couple of others as well. There's a Concorde coming. Can't forget the Concordes. Once they start coming to the platform, it really will just be it is the future. That's all I can say. It will be the future. Right, let's explore the cabin a little bit, shall we? So, King Air 350, it is kind of like a business traveller, so you do get a bit more of a luxury feel to it. For some reason I actually can't fit through a door anymore. Perhaps the G-forces have got me stuck. Whoops. Okay, perhaps we won't go through the cabin then. That is very odd. Well, we've had a look through it already. It's like a businessy kind of layout. Got a couple of seats dotted around. I did say I was going to turn off the tooltips. I do need to remember to do that. Yeah, you got a few seats dotted around. The texture quality in this aircraft is phenomenal. And like I say, once again, the default general aircrafts really are something phenomenal. And even the displays there, I mean, for some reason Athens is glitching out on me. Not quite sure what it's trying to do there. But the actual panels themselves aren't terrible. Once again, they could do with a few more function upgrades at some point as development carries on. They have what you need. They have got the synthetic vision going on as well, so you guys can also view the world from the panel below, as well as what's in front of you. You have got your stuff, so for example, comms you can change between audio settings you've got, split the map so you can bring the top down to the screen as well. Here, you can then adjust your flight plan. So for example, we're going to Nevra. If I want to fly direct to our next waypoint, which is somewhere. Where's our next waypoint after this? Perhaps we don't have one. Okay, but yeah, we can then essentially plug in a direct point. There we go. AMEC will go to direct to SAT AMEC. Enter that. It found that it's 40 miles away, heading 13. We can activate that, and the aircraft will then jump to the waypoint you select. So you have got your basic navigation functions and programming, and yeah, it is there. It is there. The sun is starting to appear quite low on the horizon. As we approach Lemnos, it won't be pitch black, but the sun will have gone below the horizon, especially as we start at the centre as well. I mean, I could spend my entire life just flying around the Greek islands. It is just so beautiful. But hey, with Microsoft Flight Simulator, there is a whole world out there to explore. And I do encourage you guys to explore it. So many different sceneries that perhaps nobody ever will go to. Because the world is a big place. So many airports, so many different places to explore. Quick check on the frame rate again. I'm now getting... It has dropped a bit. I'm now getting around 27, 28. So, like I say, it does jump around depending on the aircraft you're flying, the sceneries you're over, and perhaps other stuff as well. So, for example, the bloom right now, I can imagine is through the roof because of the sunset. And as a result, it's now going to try and do a lot more rendering and lighting. But I've not yet had any issue. I've not had anything below 23. 23 is the lowest I've had, and that is flying the 747 over the city of New York. So, a lot of scenery, a lot of loading, a massive jetliner to load in as well. That's hefty work, and to still get a decent frame rate at my computer spec, again, there really is not much you can complain about. I remember FSX in its prime, because it was so reliant on a single core CPU, you could try and put whatever you wanted into it, but eventually it would just slow down to a point it was basically unusable. And even now, just flying the J aircraft, it feels better. It feels a lot nicer, it's a lot more streamlined, the handling's a lot cooler. I'm sure our landing in Lemnos as well will definitely show off some of the flight dynamics in its prime. Perhaps the A320 was maybe the wrong aircraft to show off first, and also one that I could have practiced a little bit more beforehand before well, showing off like this. But we live and learn, and ultimately I don't think anyone's got any ill feeling towards the two videos I put up yesterday. And if anything, I do actually want to say thank you all to your kindness as well. I mean, when I did the Los Angeles to San Fran video, when I did my go-around at San Francisco, I was very unsure as to whether or not I actually wanted to show that, because, well, for me personally, I like actually showing everything raw. If I have got an issue or I have done something wrong, I'll show it off, I'll talk about it, I'll learn from my mistakes. But being a showcase video for a new simulator, I didn't quite know how you guys would react to that, and so I will say thank you again all for your kindness that you've shown for me. And for the support for the channel as well. I mean, I didn't know how many views to expect, I didn't know how many people would even watch my channel of the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and well, it really is just, it's blown me away, and so I do thank you all for it. I'm now just watching the sun. It's not massive movement, but if you were to look at it closely, you can see it ever so slightly creeping down. Oh yeah, that is just spot on. We should now be able to actually spot Altis Lemnos in the distance. That there is part of an island. I can't remember the name of it, but you can actually spot that mountain. It's an inactive volcano from the capital city of, or the capital town of Lemnos, Myrina. So that there is Agios Eleftherios, and that bigger landmass just behind it to the north, that is Stratus. Sorry, that is Lemnos. Altis even in Arma 3. I do apologise, I'm now going to start having other games in my head very shortly. Lemnos also appears in Assassin's Creed. It appears in one of the rather good Second World War games as well. It makes a few appearances here and there. Once again, if you guys have any suggestions of where you want me to fly, Greek islands was one that a couple of people have actually asked me to do. Can you do some of the Greek scenery? Can you show off some of the Aegean islands? So, any suggestions you may have, please do let me know, and at some point I'll try and slot them in. I just realised I'm not in drone cam there, so I've accidentally gone and kicked the rudder. Whoops. And there you go, there's the orange glow as you now look towards Turkey. In a couple of minutes we'll start thinking about our descent into Lemnos. Not too far for us to go. There's a couple of aircraft in the area. It looks like they're all just passing by, so presumably at high altitudes. We'll keep an eye out for those just in case. Whoops, I don't want that. Yeah, they're all moving away from the flight path ahead of us, so no real issue for us there. We'll start our top of descent. At some point, we'll then break away from the flight path and start heading north, and then make a right-hand turn and fly straight into the runway. We'll do the initial turn on autopilot, but very soon after, we'll then switch over to manual flights. Go, so Eleftherios now coming into view. Everything's looking good, airspeed's fine, altitude 12,000. We'll start with initially a 1,000 feet per minute descent. We'll increase that to 2,000 until we take command and control. We're not particularly high at the moment, so I don't think we're going to need to use the 2,000 option at any point whatsoever. So, well behind us now, you've got the main Greek lands. Not too far ahead of us. Now up on destination. As I say, it's only about an hour long flight this. It's not particularly long, but in the right time of day, it is visually the most impressive. Just got to zoom in on the map there. Zoom in again. Let's us set a heading. 355, that'll do. Select that. And start to descent. We can start initially at 500 feet per minute, I think. Doesn't have to be too much at all. Perfect. Pass through 10,000 shortly, so get ready to turn on the landing lights. We'll increase our descent rate now to 1,000. There's a decrease, not increase, sorry. Let's also cut the throttle back slightly. Don't want to be approaching in too fast. There we go, that was a good call actually. It looks like our airspeed was slowly going into the red there. So definitely best to avoid doing that. Now, like I said, I'm not going to use any of the assist to bring the aircraft in. We will use the 2,000 feet per minute option. Up to 1,500. And just over there, the two flashing lights. Those are the runways. Landing lights, we shall turn on. In a couple of moments we'll start preparing the aircraft ready for a landing. Flaps and gear, not just yet. Wait a little bit longer before we dump those. In a couple of moments, we'll now get ready for the right-hand turn. Passing through 7,000, so not a problem for me there. Decrease the altitude to about... whoops, we've just crossed over there, so of course going to reset. Down to about 1,500, I'd say. It's going a bit too low there, going into the negatives, and that is something I certainly don't want to be doing. It needs 1,500, when you can do negative 1,500. We'll cut the throttle back again, a bit more. We'll use the full 2,000 feet per minute descent right now. And we shall start the right-hand turn, head towards the runway. Heading 015. Probably do a little bit more actually. 025. That'll do. A bit of the locomotive, shall we? So this area here, that is Thanos. This area over here, that is Platit. A bit more north, you've then got Myrina, the main town of the island. And then you've also got the airport ahead of us. Over here you have, I want to call it Agios Dionysios, but that is the Arma 3 name for it. I can't remember the actual town's name. Not far to go now. At this point I probably could take it in manually, so we'll disengage the autopilot. And we'll start the final approach now. We will not quite idle the throttle because of the landing gear warning, but we'll bring the throttle back to its minimum. Let's use the first stage of flaps. Start increasing some drag around the aircraft to slow it down. Second stage of flaps about now. Let's bring the aircraft in for a bit more of a better line. It's going to be landing on the right-hand runway there. That's the main runway. The one on the left used to be a taxiway until a few years ago. Then they kind of just upgraded its service use. A little bit high on the glide slope, so we'll pitch the nose down. Lower the flaps down to second stage plus lower the gear. Once again, both of those will increase the drag, and therefore allow us to bring the aircraft just a tad bit lower. We can also now fully idle the throttle. And so anything to slow the aircraft down at this stage. A little bit of turbulence for us to deal with, but nothing to worry about for sure. And just keeping a close eye on those pappies right there. Expect them to start turning red any moments now. Let's apply a little bit of power since the red is starting to crawl up the speed indicator there. That's 3 whites, 1 reds. Here we go. Again, just get a little more altitude. There we go, that's perfect. If we now hold that. A little more to the right. Over the thresholds. Just cut the throttle. Reverse thrust sets. .60 knots. Reverse thrust cut. It's a long runway for us to head down, so allow the speeds to kind of just continue through it. Otherwise, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lemnos. In the general aviation aircraft, both the ground effects and the landing physics certainly are much greater than that of the jetliners, and therefore you can expect it to be a much nicer touchdown. I think that right there was, well, it was textbook. I think it's landing that you guys deserve as well. I mean, the two I did yesterday were not great, but yeah, I think you guys deserve to see something nice from my end, so enjoy it. Not quite sure what's going on there on the runway. A few inspection vehicles patrolling. Lemnos, yes. Lemnos is an active military base as well. So, while we have the passenger terminal to the left, we have got a military base to the right, so I'm not sure if this is linked to that in any way. It's almost like a parade going on. We'll cut to the runway left. We won't switch to taxi lights just yet, since we'll be taxiing down essentially another active runway, but I can now raise the flaps. We'll go around these vehicles, who I presume don't quite know what they're doing at the moment. I mean, they are holding short of the runway and everything, so they are doing something right. And that there, I believe, is a follow me vehicle actually, so well, I guess we'll follow it. Now taxiing down 22 right. We're going to be making a right-hand turn just here. At this point, since we have now left all runways, whoops, where did the yeah, go? We can turn off the landing lights. We can turn on the taxi. Now, where do you just want to park up? Right over here. Sounds good to me. Straighten ourselves a little bit on the taxiway, and yeah, okay, he stopped here, and therefore I shall do the same. Parking brake set, props down to feather, mixture down to cut off. And there you go. Both engines should now switch off in just a couple of moments. While we're at it, we'll turn off all the lights as well. So we no longer need the taxi lights. Navigation we can turn off at this point. We can turn off the beacon and strobes. And also turn off, are those the ice lights? Oh, no, that's also turn off as well. Okay, welcome to Lemnos. If we now switch over to the drone cam and have a quick look around the aircraft from here. Overall, I cannot lie, that was a pretty good flight, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. There's a lot to explore in this world, both in real life, both in the virtual simulator, and let me tell you, if you ever get a chance to travel in any form, then take it. I've had the privilege to travel all over Europe the last 2 years, head to different countries, go to different cultures and live lives as they do, and it really is for me the best thing in the world. And so, at least with the flight simulators that I use as well, it is another way to kind of travel to these countries, to travel to these cultures and just to see what they have on offer. And just with how good Microsoft Flight Simulator looks, it's one of those things that it's a privilege to even just use. I mean, I've done some flying in the real world, I've got some experience here and there, but with Flight Simulator, it's like a key to unlock the entire world, just here from your desktop. And so there's a lot you can do out there, a lot of flights, a lot of destinations, and a lot of fascinating places to check out. But I think that for now brings us to an end of today's showcases. So thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, thank you very much for the support you've shown me over the weekend. And during the week I'll try and drop a few more here and there before dropping a couple more over the weekend as well. But until then, I wish you guys all the best. Have a great week ahead. And I'll see you again, hopefully in the very near future. Take care, and goodbye.